there's nothing like cracking that cellophane, pulling that record out. It just smells great.
Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Non-stop hardcore energy.
I love the show, guys. You're awesome.
Unlike any other.
With your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bod Father.
Man, this stuff rocks.
This is Dan Drago from Mortal Device. You are listening to BODS Mayhem Hour. Stay metal.
The views and opinions of the guests do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of BODS Mayhem Radio Network, its staff, affiliates, or sponsors. Parental discretion is advised. Welcome to BODS Mayhem Radio Network.
Hey everybody, welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour. I am your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bod Father, and as always, I bring you guys and gals awesome interviews. Today, it's an honor and a huge privilege to welcome guitarist Dan Drago of Mortal Device. Mortal Device has released their third EP entitled Chapter 3, which is out now. Also, Dan is working on a side project called the Soundtrack Collective, and they will release an EP later on this year. Also, Dan is focusing on his solo project called Dan Drago, and he's got some stuff coming out with that also. Dan, welcome to the show. I'm glad to have you on here.
Yeah, thank you so much, John. It's my pleasure. I'm really excited and can't tell you how much I appreciate the time.
Man, you've been doing a lot of stuff. So how you been doing during all this pandemic, and how excited are you as a musician that states are opening back up and to be able to get back out on the road soon, maybe do some local shows, things like that? How excited are you?
So I'm super excited. And quite frankly, the pandemic has been, in a weird way, kind of a blessing for me. And I don't mean that in a bad way from a songwriter standpoint, because I was locked in my house for the last year and, the creativity was just wide open. So I was writing everything from Mortal Device tracks to, my solo stuff, to Soundtrack Collective. And quite frankly, I wrote a whole nother record that I'm doing later in the year with the Grunge Project, which I'm really, really excited about as well. So, from a staying and playing out perspective, most of my projects are actually all of my projects are record only. So Mortal Device right now is just starting to talk about maybe playing our first shows once everything's opened up and we're ready to go. So that's kind of on the table. I actually haven't played live, if you could believe it, John, since 2013.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, I did another band called Rush to War in the meantime. And, it's definitely, the pandemic didn't affect me personally as a musician as much because I'm right now not focusing on the live shows as much.
Good God, man. I mean, how are you juggling all these bands? I mean, you got Mortal Device, you've got your solo project coming up, you've got the collective soundtrack, and you've got this grunge stuff coming up. I mean, how do you find the time?
Every time I don't do covers, I don't play other people's stuff except maybe my idols and people I love. But every time I pick up my guitar, it's strictly to write. Or if I'm messing around with the piano, chords, I'm just always looking to write. And I'm pretty focused. I'm very tenacious when it comes to writing. Once I sit down to write a song, it's pretty much I live and breathe it until it's done. So, I was a year. It took me to do some of this stuff, and some of it came real easy. Others, I absolutely, I had to bounce ideas off of other people. All of it, really. I mean, I'd be nothing without my partners and the people I write with. What I love about it, John, is it gives me a chance to work with different singers. So like all of these projects have different vocalists, and it really gives me a chance to spread my wings and write with other people. So my songwriting partner is Casey Weaver. He's involved in all of my projects. He owns the Steampunk Audio Labs where we record. And he's been telling me to do this for years, with him, of like, hey, let's work with different singers. And, to your question, the pandemic really kind of accelerated that process. So now we weren't just, hey, we're only Mortal Device. We're like, hey, let's work with this singer. Let's work with that singer. And actually, it's been wonderful. And everybody's been super cool and super chill about it.
Mortal Device times 15.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Some of the projects are probably one-offs. I was in a band called The Furnace, and we'll go into that, I'm sure, with my background for a long, long time, and that ended. And then I did, other bands, and those have kind of one and dones. And, I got to figure out personally what my go-forward strategy is. Mortal Device for sure, and probably my solo project would be what I'm going to concentrate on going forward.
With this being Mortal Device's third EP entitled Chapter 3, Are these all concept EPs that you guys have done with this?
It's a great question, and not really. So we wrote all of the songs in over a year's time. About 3 years ago, we spent a year in the rehearsal studio for 1 year writing it was 11 songs in total, 10 originals, and we did the Just Got Paid cover by ZZ Top. And initially we were going to record our full-length debut, and lately I've been really strongly believing not to release full lengths anymore. I think people don't have the attention span to really listen to 10, 12 songs, heck, maybe even 8 songs anymore. So, we came up with the idea to just split them up over 3. Now, they do have some similar concepts. So, like, Chapter 1 is definitely more of like our harder rock EP. Chapter 2 has got maybe a classic rock song, like Too Little Too Late. It's very Sabbath, Metallica. And then we have a couple of different songs on that one. We do the cover. We do a song called Time, which has almost got, a country tinge to it a little bit, which I love that song because it's so different. Then we have a pop rock song called Not Afraid to Try. And then Chapter 3 is definitely much more of a metal release. So we tried to we're kind of very multifaceted in Mortal Device. We don't want to be pigeonholed. We just write what we like, which is fantastic. So the third EP is definitely more of our metal release. So we wanted to keep those songs kind of together.
Writing the third EP, Chapter 3, did it challenge you guys as a band because of COVID bringing the EP to life, or were these songs that had already been written previously?
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually recorded all the basic tracks about 2 years ago for all 11 tracks. So all we had to do, everything was done except the solos and the vocals. So all of the rhythm guitars, the bass, everything was in the can. So we just had to go back in and turn these 3 songs on and finalize vocals and guitars. And it didn't hurt us too bad. I mean, we were very, very conscientious of staying 6 feet apart. And it was only me and Casey who produced the record in there. And then, Shane when he sang. So, we were really, really good about just keeping it, our distance.
So were there any songs that you guys worked on that didn't make these EPs that we could see on a one-off or full length down the road possibly?
Not yet. We had just started writing a new song right at the end of our initial writing sessions that I still have on tape, but no vocals were done. It's just like a 5-minute musical piece that the 4 of us put together. And then I've written about 3 or 4 songs since then, and maybe even 5 during the pandemic for the next Mortal Device stuff. Casey's got a few ideas floating around. So I could see us coming up with 8 to 10 songs pretty quick. But we're going to take our time with the Mortal Device stuff because one of the things I really like about the band is we do have a lot of intricacies in it. It's, not that it's prog metal or it's far from Dream Theater, but we definitely pride ourselves into, adding little bits here and there to make it a little bit more special.
So are you guys a little nervous releasing this EP right now since bands can't tour or really do anything? And I know you mentioned, and I agree with you on some points, that people are like, well, what have you done for me now? And I do mean, what I'm saying by that is like putting out EPs, because some people don't like the full lengths. They just want EPs out every 3, 4, 5 months. And I think that takes away from just waiting and just, taking all that in when you get that full length.
Yeah. So as a fan, I would hate it if my favorite artist released EPs only.
Oh yeah.
I get it. But as a musician, I'm trying to make sure all of these songs get a fair shake. And I really felt strongly if all 11 songs were on one record, 7, 8 of them wouldn't have even been heard. So, I feel like putting them out by 3 or 4, perfect example is a song, Wall of Hate. I think Wall of Hate is getting a lot of great reaction off our new EP. And we're going to go shoot a video for it here next week. So I'm really, really excited about pushing that. We might not have pushed Wall of Hate if it was just a one, full-length album. So I think in some ways it's better for the musician because we can really push certain songs that wouldn't have had that chance if we released it all. But I'm an old school guy. I agree. I want that full length. Hell, I still buy vinyl and CDs. But
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I know most people. We didn't even release this yet on vinyl or CD. It's digital only right now.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of Wall of Hate, man, you got some old school Black Sabbath with modern metal. Plus you had Tool and Howie on here. So how was working with her on this song?
Fantastic. She is absolutely awesome to work with. She plays in a very popular band around Phoenix called Empire Desire. They're fantastic. One of the best bands in the Valley. So Casey, who owns Steampunk Audio Labs, our other guitar player, recorded Empire Desires' last album maybe a year and a half ago, right before the pandemic. So he had a really good relationship with her. Our singer Shane Christensen has known her for a long time. So it just made a lot of sense to have her. Actually, when Shane was writing the melodies for Wall of Hate, even 3 years ago in the rehearsal room, he was like, dude, I'm going to duet this with Tulin. I could hear her all over it. So we, from the beginning, she didn't know this because, we'd asked her before we brought the vocals in, but we had every intention to have her sing on this song, and she knocked it out of the park. It's a special song. It's great. And I agree. It's kind of got that old school Sabbath Metallica vibe, is what we are. I make no bones about it.
And I got to listen to these. I'm glad you sent these to me, and I'm really impressed because there's a lot of diversity in each of these album or EPs, I should say. But when I started listening to it, I could just like close my eyes and be like, man, that does sound like some old Black Sabbath in there. I mean, not like to rip or anything like that on them. It's just that it's got that grungy, raw, distortionist in it, if that makes sense. It sounds good.
So when I was writing the main riff for Wall of Hate, that dun dun, actually the bass plays it, but I'd written it on the guitar. I had Geezer 100% in mind when I was coming up with that. So definitely. And Casey, adds a lot of Metallica influence. He's a Justice freak. So when me and Casey start writing, it inevitably becomes Metallica meets Sabbath or Ozzy. That's another big influence for me.
So with these 3 EPs, what's excited you the most, Dan, about making these EPs, if anything? What sticks out the most for you about these?
It's going to be a weird question, but, honestly, how much I love my band guys. And I know, we're still a newer band, even though we've been together 3 years. We've just released the one, let's call it one chapter, right? 3 chapters, one record. I love and get along so well with these guys. It's a pleasure to hang out. And I can't say it's always been like that in the past in some of the bands I've been in, but it's amazing having no band struggles. We all get along. We're all on the same page. We all have different roles within the band. I mean, me and Casey pretty much are, kind of the guys that run the band, and Shane's a big part of it. But then you got Dale and Andy, who is our rhythm section. They're amazing musicians, and they we're all old enough. We don't have to all be involved in every process. And, Casey handles a lot of the mixing, I do a lot of the covers and a lot of the songwriting. It's all over the place, and I just love being with those guys. So that it excites me to enjoy it. And I know that's kind of a selfish answer, but man, I tell you, I love playing with the guys in Mortal Device. They're great people. No,
I mean, that's an excellent answer because you can't grow or create a great album, in my opinion, if there's no chemistry. You hear all these horror stories of these bands fighting and just, coming to fists with each other. And it's like, why? It's just a freaking album. Just blend in like you did before and knock it out. I mean, it just get along.
Yeah, absolutely. And Casey and I are, he's definitely special. I met him 20 years ago, and, we just write everything together regardless if it's my initial idea, his initial idea. It's amazing how in sync we are. And there's no ego. And I'll tell you, it's really important for me to really emphasize this because we're both guitar players, and I've never played with a guy, and I hope he could say the same thing, that there's no ego involved. You want the solo? You got it. I'll take this solo? Sure, no problem. There's just like, we're always on the same page to say, what can we do to make this the best song possible? And that's all we care about.
Does he push you to make you want to become even better as a duo guitarist?
Hell yeah. He's a great player, so I got to be on my A game for sure. But it's fun competition. Sure. It's not a negative aspect, but absolutely. Yeah, for sure. We definitely push each other because, quite frankly, we both bring in great material too. So it helps from a songwriting standpoint because there's shit times I've written stuff that's not good enough that I won't even bring to the table because I know it doesn't meet the bar that Casey and I have set over the years working together.
Being in this band, Mortal Device, for 3 years compared to the other groups, and I'm not knocking them at all whatsoever, how much growth have you seen this band in positivity going forward? Have you guys accomplished more than what you expected? I was in a really popular band called The Furnace for about 20 years, and we were,
very popular in the West Coast and toured the whole Southwest and had a lot of success out here. And, you know, some of those guys I played with over the years, and Casey was in that band for a long time as well, which is kind of Mortal Device is kind of out of the ashes. I shouldn't have even said that, darn it, of the furnace. I didn't even mean it that way. But, you know, the Furnace, also Andy, our drummer, you know, joined the band late, you know, for the last couple of years. So really me, Andy, and Casey, once the Furnace broke up, never lost touch. And we always knew we were going to start something. So we took about 4 years off and then started Mortal Device. And I'd say yes, to your question, we have had a lot of success because of how easy and willing everybody is to work together. Let me talk about Shane Christensen a little bit as our vocalist. He's got a wonderful voice, but I've never also met a vocalist who's so open to ideas and, hell, open to having other people sing on your records. I think it shows a lot of confidence and just growth as a person and as, you know, as a singer to let all these other people sing on our record. And I thank him for that, and I appreciate him, you know, for who he is. He's a great guy, a great singer. He's so easy to write. One of the songs, matter of fact, Your Disease, we had written, it was called Verbal Warfare while we were writing the song. And I just really felt that the melody could be a little bit better. So before we went in to record vocals, Shane and I got together and rewrote the melody and the lyrics completely. And he was all for it. There was no pushback. He was like, absolutely, if we feel this is better. And it did get better. Quite frankly, it is a better song because of it. Where some singers in the past might have pushed back on me a little bit on that and been more like, no, that's the way I wrote it, and that's what we're doing.
Yeah, but that's awesome. You've got somebody that's open-minded to that, because if you've got a band member that's trying to push you and help you, take all of that criticism. It's not really criticism. It's just to help and critique you, to say, hey, look, you could do more.
Absolutely. And I think here's the thing. All five of us have a common goal of take ego out of the equation. It is what is best for the songs and what is best for the band. And it doesn't matter if it's Dale's idea. Dale wrote most of Stages off the new record. He wrote a lot of those real cool prog riffs, and it was great. And I'm real proud of that song because he's had that riffs for a long time. He brought it in. He's like, you know, hey guys, I've not been able to use this in anything. Can you write to it? And I took what he had home, and for about 2-3 weeks, I wrote to it. So I came up with the chorus music and that breakdown bridge section. And I probably wrote 20 different riffs to it, John. And I just was like, nope, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. Mm-hmm. And then it finally clicked. I kind of went into I was trying to keep it heavy, because it was, you know, that dun, 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 you know, it's a real nice, cool, heavy riff. And I went the opposite direction. I kind of wrote like a power pop punk thing to it. And it just blended great. And Casey came up with that melody. It's just, you know, the chapter 3 is probably the most out of all 3 chapters where it was the biggest effort collectively as a band to write those 3 songs. And it's weird that those 3 songs ended up on the last EP together because, you know, it's a definite collection. If it was not these 5 guys being a Mortal Device, we would not have this EP.
So would you say these 3 tracks was the most challenging to create?
I wouldn't say challenging. It was just definitely the biggest group effort. Sometimes, you know, pretty like In Your Shadow off chapter 1. Casey had that song down, soup to nuts. Like, this is the song, boom. You know, he was done. You know, Cult of Greed. I had all the music done for that. You know, it was just, I brought it in. They, of course, you know, we worked together and make it better. But that whole song was kind of done. You know, where Wall of Hate, I had a lot of those riffs, but Casey came up with some of those riffs and came up with a lot more of the chunk part. And he did a great job of making what I had even better. Your Disease, I was a lot of Casey's parts. I wrote that Slayer middle section. You know, so it was a big collaborative effort where we were just gelling when we wrote these 3 songs as a unit. So I'm hoping, you know, we can grow from this perspective and continue to collaborate like we did off to chapter 3.
Any tracks standing out more to you than any right now on any of these EPs? I mean, because I know these are your babies, and I know that these change every time that you guys listen to it, especially you.
Yeah, for sure. So for a couple of different reasons. Off the first EP until the end, Michael Gilbert from Flotsam and Jetsam guest starred and did a couple of the guitar solos. And that song will always be special and stand out for me, especially a kid that grew up idolizing Flotsam and Jetsam. I still love those guys to pieces. They're great guys. But, the fact that Mike did that for us was fantastic. So for me, Casey and Mike to trade off guitar solos was a dream come true for me. Time stands out for me, and I know it's not a popular one amongst the metal crowd, but I just think Shane's melody is absolutely on fire. And I just love that song, and it's raw emotion. When we were recording the end vocals, it was about a minute and a half at the end of that where Shane kind of, what I call scats, we just kind of lets loose. And I had chills and my hair was standing up in the studio. That's almost one real take. I think we only went back and recut one word. Other than that, that was like one full take. And I'll never forget that, because in this day and age of cutting and pasting and doing this, I was just blown away how much Shane was into that. So time stands out for that perspective as well.
Was there a song that you guys were working on that totally ended up sounding different than what it was brought to the table? Was there a song that took maybe like a 360-degree turn, maybe, possibly, or no?
Well, Your Disease took the biggest turn because, again, it wasn't even called that during the writing process. So, I came up with this idea to get a little bit more aggressive because, Casey came up with that main riff, and it's so in your face. And I just felt the vocal melody was a little too positive, if that makes sense. It was almost like in a major key, and I was just like, it's just not going to work. So I got this idea to bring Eric in. Eric also sang on our first EP on In Your Shadow, and I want a little bit more death metal vocals on it. And Eric is a great singer, and he can also sing. He also sings clean a lot on our stuff, but he's great. And I just thought that's the one that changed the most for the better, for sure, coming out of it.
So you and Casey both are producers on these EPs. Do you guys like having that time frame to where you guys could take as much time as you want, or would you want to work with a producer down the road, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, if it was the right producer, listen, Casey does all the technical stuff. There's no question. He does all the engineering. He does the mixing. He's the master when it comes to anything technical and, running the studio. My touch would be working with the talent. I love being in there with the talent, coming up with musical ideas, play it this way, sing it that way. So I'm probably a little bit more true. And Casey does that as well, of course. But, we have such a good combination of working together. Casey produces other bands. So, he does, it's not that he does it, it's not his full-time job, but I almost say he does it professionally. He owns a real nice studio out here. But, we've worked with producers in the past before we opened up Steampunk. And, that was also sometimes a blessing and sometimes not such a great experience.
Who did the amazing artwork on these EPs for you guys?
So that's a great question. That's my buddy, Paul Birch. Paul also does all of our videos. So Paul is a great guy. I've known him for 25 years. He's played in and out of my bands all this time. Matter of fact, Paul helped us out big time in World of Ice, because right when we were putting the band together, Andy got run over while he was out for a jog and literally got, he was badly injured. We were not sure if he was going to play drums again.
Jesus.
And so he was out jogging and he had his headphones on and got run over from behind. So while he was recouping, Paul sat in for Andy, and which was very awesome of him. And we started writing some of those songs with Paul in those early sessions. And Andy came out, and I'll be honest, I played with Andy for years. Andy came back better than ever. And we were so grateful for that, because he's such a beautiful human being. So from a personal standpoint, I'm just so glad he's okay. But it was great to see him recommit to his art, because he came back firing as a drummer. Paul does all the artwork. So it's kind of a collaborative effort. I'd say Shane and I do all of the grunt work, where we'll find the pictures that we like, or buy the pictures that we like, and then we all send all that to Paul. And Paul also does videos. Like I said, he does all our lyric videos, and he's shooting our video next week for Wall of Hate as well. But Paul puts them all for me together. He's just a great person.
In your own opinion, what do you hope everyone takes away, or message you hope they hear while listening to any Immortal Device music in general? What do you hope they get from it, Dan?
Personally, I want people to just enjoy it. I mean, I know it's so simple, at my age, and I've been doing this a long time. I want people to understand it comes from the heart. Every single thing we write, we love. Me and Casey joke all the time. I'm not embarrassed to say I'm a huge fan of my band. So I just hope people enjoy it, listen to it, and really understand that it's from the heart. And I know in this day and age, the fact we're probably not going to make much money or get rich off of this anytime soon. So we do this for the love of it. And I hope that comes through in the music.
And I'm glad you said that you do it for the love of it because, and I'm not knocking nobody, folks, but you can tell when a band puts their heart in that song and the lyrics and the vocalist singing it, because most of the time they'll wear it on their sleeve when they're singing that song. And so that's cool that you guys have that drive still like that.
Yeah, thank you. I don't think we'd be doing it anymore if we didn't love it. That's for sure. I actually took off about 2 years from music, and I'll be honest, I was telling Casey and Paul, because Paul's one of my best friends. I don't think I'm ever going to do this again. And look what happened. I come back, I'm like writing for 7 fucking bands. It's just funny how the world works.
You just got to have that recharge, man, and it happens to all of us, even us podcasters. I mean, even me. There's times I've took breaks and said, I don't know if I want to do this or not, and then I'll get a huge interview, which I love doing every single fucking interview that I get my hands on, right, because I love interviewing you guys. But you just need a break sometimes just to recharge. That's all it is.
Yeah, agreed. Absolutely. And I have a couple of projects coming up, and we'll get into it. But from a Mortal Device perspective, I say by the end of this year, in a couple of months at least, I see us getting back in the live studio of starting to write up again. And, I think this time we're going to do 8 to 10 songs and try to release a full-length album next time. Good.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
I like the full lengths, and I like the EPs too, but give me that full length. I got you.
Yeah. We've done the EP route for the first go around, so I think the next time we're gonna try to do it 8 to 10. I definitely wouldn't do more than 10 songs. That's for sure. Yeah.
So what made you want to become a musician? What was that spark, if you can recall, that said I may want to try that?
Oh, no question. The first time I heard "Over the Mountain" by Ozzy Osbourne, and I heard that guitar solo by Randy Rhoads, I was hook, line, and sinker, man. I'd never heard anything like that in my life. And it just grew from there. I'm a huge Randy Rhoads fan. I'm a huge Ozzy fan. So Black Sabbath, I found my way backwards to Black Sabbath, and riffs like "Into the Void" and "Fairies Wear Boots" and "Symptom of the Universe" and "Megalomania." All those songs just moved me to want to pick up the guitar. No question about it. And I actually started in classical guitar. So for 4 years in high school, I played metal, of course, and I learned classical, which was phenomenal for me. I actually went on to college with a classical guitar degree, which was real special for me.
Now, you're going to be doing your solo stuff that's going to be under your name. How long has this been brewing for you want to do this, or was this just all of a sudden that, hey, I might want to try this?
It definitely was not brewing for a long time. It's weird. I have all of my files saved from me writing. So here's the irony. I can't sing a lick. I'm the only guy in the band who can't sing, but I could write melodies. So I'm constantly writing melodies, but on this project, I'm bringing singers in to sing the songs I'm writing. So I'd say it started about the first of this year. To be honest, the first song I wrote, I started on December 31st of 2020. So this is all brand new material. I've written 12 songs so far, and I have another 6 that I'm in the process of working on. So about 18 songs since the first of the year that I'm all putting towards this, but I'm definitely going to do this one as 3 6-song EPs at the moment. Right now we're focusing on the first EP, which is 6 songs. I knew the material wasn't, so my solo project's going to be completely different. I would never do a solo project and be like, holy shit, that sounds like Mortal Device. I'd be like, well, that song would go to Mortal Device because those are my brothers, and anything that I'm going to write in that style is going to definitely go to Mortal Device. So it's definitely a different genre of music, which is what I felt so passionate about doing it differently, because I knew these songs were just I could have used them for Rush to War, because it's, that has some mellow stuff from one of my past bands, but that band's on ice, and a little bit like that Soundtrack Collective I'm doing, it could have done that. But, I wanted to do it myself, I think, and I wanted to try it where I was like, you know what, I'm writing the melodies, I'm writing the lyrics, I'm writing the music. These are my songs, and I want to see if I can do it on my own.
So what sound are you looking for? Are you looking for like the rock side, punk side, or just all in between of everything?
So, I'm a huge Beatles fan as well. So there's a lot of Beatles sort of stuff on this. I'm a huge Lennon and McCartney fan. I would, a lot of Oasis, a lot of the Pixies and Frank Black, with a little bit of punk thrown in. That's I can't believe you said that because it's right on the money. So it's kind of very polished with a little bit of attitude. Matter of fact, I'm going to cover Astro Zombies by the Misfits. I'm a huge punk fan as well.
Oh, now. Oh.
Yeah. And I'm actually making it a little bit more melodic, and it's coming out fantastic. That'll be on my second EP. And I love the way it came out. So it's definitely going to be fun and exciting. But it's going to be a little bit more melodic. It's not going to be quite as dirty, I should say.
Dan, you got the hair standing on my arms right now because I'm an absolute huge Misfits fan.
Me too. I saw your Danzig shirt when you were interviewing Josh, and I love Danzig, man, one of my all-time favorites, and I love all of his projects, Sam Hain included. But yeah, if you look back at those early Misfits songs, who I'm a huge fan of, and I'm also a huge fan of the Ramones, and they're really 1950s chord progressions, C, A minor, F, G, they're kind of just dirty and sped up, which is beautiful. But if you really look at the context of the songs, especially both of those bands, the Misfits and the Ramones, they're beautiful songs. They're awesome. They're great melodies for sure.
Yeah, and I love the riffs and old punk school stuff like that, especially like you mentioned, the Ramones, the Misfits, the Descendants.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, I love Dead Kennedys too, but that's a little bit more hardcore.
Yeah. But still, though, I mean, it's all the same.
Yeah, right. Social Distortion's another one.
Yes.
They're really into that 1950s style, and I love those guys as well.
And I feel like Rancid is too in some points.
Yeah, absolutely. They're the second wave. I'm not quite into this. Not that I have nothing against it. I'm just old, so I've never really I know Rancid's old now, but when Rancid first came out, I was like, oh, that's pretty good. Ruby Soho is a great song, but I haven't delved into their catalog like I should have.
You said the solo stuff is going to be coming out sometime this year, maybe, possibly? Yeah,
so the first 6 songs, so here's the cool thing. So I've done the drums, the guitars, the piano, on recording wise on the solo album. And then my buddy Dale, who's the bass player in Mortal Device, he's the bass player for everything because he's an absolute gentleman and a god on the instrument. Recorded the bass because I could have done it, but I'll be quite honestly, it's not nearly as good as what Dale is providing. So Dale has done a great job of providing bass lines for me. So he did the bass on everything. And then vocally, Shane from Mortal Device sang 2 songs. Eric Seals, who also sings on Your Disease, is utilizing his clean voice. He sang on 2 songs. And a gentleman by the name of Rob Reinhardt, a young kid out of Phoenix who's got a wonderful voice, great guy, super talented. I'm probably going to be writing with him going forward on a couple of different ideas that I'm going to send him. He's going to sing 2. So it's going to be 6 songs with 3 singers, and each singer is going to sing 2 songs.
You got to do the Animals in the House of Rising Sun.
Oh, my God. So my singer, David, from Rush to War, covers that on the scene out here, and I've never heard it better. He absolutely kills it. So if I do that, I guarantee I'll be begging David to sing it. He's got a wonderful voice.
I've always wanted somebody, and I know Five Finger Death Punch has done it, and I don't care too much about those guys anyway. Left or right. Anyway, but I would love to see somebody cover that song and give it justice, but take the keyboard part and just turn it into the guitar part and mess around with. I would love to hear that. I might have to
put it on my list, John, because I do love that song.
Good.
So, yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, maybe I'll try it. It's a great song.
That's all you could do. Now, the Soundtrack Collective, when can we expect sometime same thing with this later on this year too, correct?
Actually, that's coming out June 25th. So it's a 3-song EP. I recorded it with the singer of Oddity Paradox, another great band out of Phoenix, Arizona. Phoenix got a great local scene. So I know his name is Tim. Icky Stain is his professional name. I've known Tim for 6-7 years. We worked out at the same gym, and we talked. And then one day I looked at him and was like, dude, why the fuck are we not working together? Let's write some songs. So me and him went to his studio, and we worked out 2 songs, 2 wonderful songs. So this is we call it Soundtrack Collective because we envision it. They're very emotional songs. Tim's got a great voice. Tim is also writing a song with me for one of my future solo EPs as well. But Tim, these songs are like songs you'd see in a movie, like kind of an emotional scene in a movie, that sort of stuff. String arrangements, it's really pretty stuff, but it rocks too. So it was a lot of fun to put together. We used a gentleman by the name of Gavin Donnelly on drums, great drummer down here in Phoenix. Dale played bass. Dale is on everything as my bass player. There's no question about it. He's just awesome.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Exactly. Yeah, no question. And, it was a lot of fun. Casey's all over it. Casey definitely helped with some arrangements and coming up with some vocal ideas and different parts to add on. And he was instrumental in recording it. And it's going to be fun. Tulin sings on a song on that as well called Tell Me. And that's going to be our first single off of Soundtrack Collective. And it's an excellent song. It's probably the most rock song on the record. It's great. And Tulin utilizes a different style of singing, and she sounds wonderful on it. Her and Tim sound great. So I'm really excited about the Soundtrack Collective. We've been writing that one for about – Tim and I started it in October, November of 2019. So a little right before – we actually recorded all the basic instruments right before COVID hit. So that just shut that project down for almost a year.
Being in these bands and having all this new content, man, does this allow you to breathe and have some new fresh stuff to keep this alive for you? Because, I mean, sometimes it gets stale, but does this allow you to stay fresh with different styles of music besides being pigeon-toed to that one side?
1,000%. I think at this age anymore, if I just wrote metal, I'd probably be very bored. And it's nothing against that. It's just one side of who I am. I love shit. My plethora of musical tastes is all over the board from, we talked about Metallica and Ozzy and, of course, the Beatles and Oasis and Frank Black. But, one of the projects I haven't done and I'd love to do some days, I'm really into black metal and death metal, a whole nother side. I mean, I haven't gone that route yet. And that's something that it's in the back of my brain to maybe want to do. I love shit like Billy Joel and Colin Hay and Elton John. So, it just gives me a chance to really be who I am and it doesn't make me feel like I have to force to do anything. If I pick up my guitar and want to be, a metal guy and want to write a riff, that's what I'll work on for that day. If I want to write a singer-songwriter type of stuff, that's what I'll work on.
Dan, how could folks stay in touch with you, buy all this merchandise, these EPs and all this stuff with Mortal Device and all this other stuff you got coming down the pipe, or just keep up with what you guys are doing? How can they do that?
Yeah, so Bandcamp is great for Mortal Device for sure. We're on Bandcamp. It's a wonderful website to, I think out of all the websites out there, it's the one that is probably most giving to artists. I would also say we're on all streaming. So you can stream us on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, Pandora, anything you listen to music on. Mortal Device would be on it. The Furnace would be on it. Rush to War would be on it. The Soundtrack Collective is coming on it. And then obviously when I really start focusing on Drago, which I'm contemplating as well, John, maybe trying to sell these songs. I haven't decided yet. I'm going to release them for sure. But I think that one I'm getting to the point where I might want to try to sell them because they're a little bit different. I'll do a Bandcamp page and, Facebook for sure. Every one of my bands has a Facebook page.
And before I let you go, would you care to do a promo for my show?
Always. Okay, you got it. This is Dan Drago from Mortal Device. You are listening to BODS Mayhem Hour. Stay metal.
Everybody stick around. We got some great stuff coming up, and you only hear these interviews right here on BODS Mayhem Hour and BODS Mayhem Hour Podcast. Get out and check out our Facebook page. It has our podcast link and our YouTube link. Folks, you want to subscribe to that YouTube link because we're going to be giving stuff away here, and I'm talking about some awesome stuff. And plus, we got some great interviews you don't want to miss out on, and we're trying to go live. Just hang in there with us. We're going to get this fixed. So please get out and check out Mortal Device, and please check out Dan Drago. Support him. Give this band a chance. You won't be disappointed. So, Dan, I wish you guys nothing but the best of luck from here on out. And plus, we're going to be talking to you and Josh about a project that's going to be coming up here soon, but we don't want to let the cat out of the bag. We want this to be a huge thing. So we'll talk about that later. So thanks for doing this, Dan.
Of course. Hey, thank you, first of all. And lastly, John, thank you, because people like you are keeping our independent artists alive, and we can't thank you enough for spreading the word and doing this it's greatly appreciated. You don't know how much it means to an artist. So thank you.
I appreciate that. I truly, truly appreciate that. I go through bad days just like everybody else. When I get an interview, man, it just like livens me up. So, thanks to you guys.
Hey, and we're going to have the Phoenix, Kentucky connection here soon with Josh and I. And Josh is a great guy. I'm so glad we've gotten so close over these last 5 years, and I can't wait. I've been bugging him to, I want to write a project with Josh, but we haven't gotten around to it because I think we'd be able to write some killer shit together.
Yes, sir. And folks, let me tell you, when this drops, it's going to be I think it's going to be a doozy. So you want to stick around for that, and we'll probably do a live thing on that for sure. But thanks for being on here, Dan. I appreciate it.
Hey, thank you, John. Stay in touch. I'll talk to you soon.
You're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.